My girlfriend scoffed. "Please, you'd never survive without me." I replied, "Is that so?" Then I took the promotion abroad, arranged temporary housing, and requested mail redirection. When she showed up at my old place with a speech prepared, the new owner opened the door instead. I, Pierce Donovan, 35, have always considered myself a competent man. As a civil engineer for Pinnacle Engineering Solutions, I manage complex infrastructure projects that require precision and foresight. I can, despite what my now ex-girlfriend might believe, successfully match my own socks and operate a washing machine. Yet, for the past 3 years, I've existed in a state of curated helplessness, a role carefully crafted for me by Sophia Reeves, 34. Our relationship began with a whirlwind of charm. Sophia works as a marketing manager for a mid-tier agency. Her world revolves around brand positioning, market perception, and strategic messaging. When she moved into the house I bought after my divorce 3 years ago, she brought that professional skill set home. My life became her new campaign project. The house itself was my pride, a modest 3-bedroom colonial in a decent neighborhood that I'd purchased with my post-divorce Fresh Start fund. After 7 years of marriage that ended when my ex-wife decided she needed to find herself with her yoga instructor, I'd rebuilt my life brick by brick. The house represented stability, independence, and a future I could control. The mortgage payment of $1,800 monthly was manageable on my $85,000 salary, and every payment felt like an investment in my autonomy. Sophia's integration started small. She'd suggest better color coordination for my clothes, sighing that my engineer's wardrobe was tragically utilitarian. She reorganized my kitchen, declaring my system of keeping tools near the stove logically unsound. She took over our social calendar, slowly filtering out my old comfortable friends, the guys I'd grab beers with after work, the weekend hiking group I'd joined post-divorce, in favor of her more professionally advantageous network. Every act of control was framed as an act of loving improvement. She wasn't being controlling, she was optimizing my lifestyle. She wasn't isolating me. She was curating our social brand for maximum relationship ROI. And I, a man who had already survived one failed marriage and valued peace in his personal life over confrontation, let it happen. It was easier to cede control of dinner plans or my weekend activities than to engage in the same circular arguments that had characterized my marriage. I was the classic frog in boiling water, slowly being cooked in a broth of condescending affection. The temperature rose so gradually that I convinced myself the warmth was comfort, that someone caring enough to manage my choices was better than the loneliness I'd felt after the divorce. My one true private sanctuary was my workshop in the converted garage. There, I built hyper-detailed architectural models, replicas of famous bridges and structures that required immense patience and spatial thinking skills that directly enhanced my professional work. The Golden Gate Bridge took me 6 months, each cable individually threaded, every rivet placed with tweezers under a magnifying glass. The Sydney Opera House, with its complex geometric shells, took 8 months of calculating angles and fabricating curved sections from thin balsa wood. These weren't just hobbies. They were exercises in precision engineering that kept my mind sharp and my hands steady. The spatial reasoning required to visualize how each tiny component fit into the larger structure directly translated to my professional work, designing load-bearing systems for commercial developments. When I had to calculate stress distributions across irregular surfaces, I could visualize the solution because I'd built similar challenges with my own hands. My workshop was organized like a surgical suite, custom storage for each tool, labeled containers for different materials, and a dedicated photography station where I documented each model's construction phases. The process was meditative, measuring twice, cutting once, testing each joint before permanent assembly. In a world where Sophia constantly questioned my competence, my workshop was proof that I could create something beautiful, complex, and permanent. Sophia called it my tinkering cave and dismissed the models as dusty little toys. She didn't see the connection between the spatial reasoning required for those models and the success I'd had designing load-bearing structures for commercial developments. When clients praised my ability to envision complex three-dimensional problems, she didn't understand that those skills were honed by spending evenings carefully assembling microscopic suspension cables. She saw a grown man playing with miniatures, a hobby that clashed with the image of the successful, sophisticated couple she was trying to project to her professional network. The promotion offer came on a Tuesday morning in March. Mr. Caldwell, my division head, called me into his office with the kind of serious expression that usually preceded either very bad news or very good news. This time, it was career-defining good news. "Pierce," he said, leaning back in his chair, "how do you feel about European architecture?" The opportunity was everything I'd worked towards since starting at Pinnacle 7 years ago. Lead engineer on the company's new flagship bridge project at our European headquarters. It was a 2-year posting, a promotion from my current $85,000 salary to $120,000, plus stock options vesting over 3 years, plus a comprehensive relocation package worth about $15,000, the kind of career advancement that would set me up for senior management track when I returned. The project itself was an engineering marvel, a cable-stayed bridge spanning one of Europe's major rivers, incorporating innovative materials and design techniques that would influence bridge construction for decades. Leading this project would cement my reputation in the industry and open doors I'd only dreamed about. I was ecstatic for exactly 47 minutes, the time it took me to drive home and tell Sophia. I expected excitement, maybe some logistical concerns about timing, perhaps questions about the practical details. Instead, I got a frown of territorial annoyance. "Europe," she said flatly, not looking up from her laptop, where she was reviewing campaign proposals. "For 2 years, what a hassle." She paused her typing, finally giving me her attention. "I'll have to rebuild my entire professional network from scratch. Do you know how long it took me to establish my current client base? And the shipping costs for furniture will be astronomical. We'll have to put most of this stuff in storage." The "we" was instantaneous and absolute. There was no discussion about whether she wanted to come, no consideration of my career milestone, no acknowledgement that this was my opportunity. She immediately began planning her European debut, talking about which districts would be best for networking events, the kind of apartment she'd need for entertaining potential clients, and how this could be a fantastic opportunity to rebrand our relationship on an international stage. My professional achievement was merely a new backdrop for her marketing ambitions. "I was thinking," I started cautiously, "that maybe I should go alone for the first month or two, get settled into the job, find my footing, scope out the best neighborhoods." She finally looked up, her expression shifting from annoyance to something approaching disbelief. A short, sharp laugh escaped her lips, a sound of pure, unadulterated dismissal. "Go alone?" she scoffed, her voice dripping with the kind of pity usually reserved for small children who'd suggested they could drive the car. "Please, Pierce, you'd never survive without me. You can barely manage your own schedule. You'd be living on takeout and wearing wrinkled shirts within a week. Don't be ridiculous." And that was it. The water hit a rolling boil. All my professional accomplishments, the bridges I'd designed, the teams I'd led, the complex projects I'd delivered on time and under budget, erased by that single cutting sentence. She didn't see a partner. She saw a helpless dependent, a project she managed, a well-compensated pet she had successfully house-trained. A strange calm washed over me. 3 years of swallowed resentment and accumulated frustrations crystallized into a single, cold point of purpose. I looked at her, this woman who thought she had optimized me, and made a decision. "Is that so?" I said quietly. She didn't notice the shift in my tone. "Of course it is, sweetie. Now, let's look at apartment listings. I'm thinking we'll want something in a culturally vibrant area, good for entertaining." I didn't argue. I just nodded, letting her believe she had won another round. But inside, the engineer in me was already running calculations, identifying variables, mapping out the most efficient solution to a complex structural problem, how to completely extract myself from Sophia's management system without causing catastrophic failure to my own foundation. The next morning, I walked into Mr. Caldwell's office and formally accepted the promotion. The project started in 4 weeks, tight timeline, but Pinnacle had confidence in my ability to transition quickly. That afternoon, I began the most complex engineering project of my life, the complete and methodical decoupling of my existence from Sophia's optimization program. I operated in two parallel realities. In one, I was the grateful boyfriend listening to her plans for our European adventure, nodding along as she researched international shipping costs and networking opportunities. In the other, I was a man executing a precision demolition project. Phase 1, New Foundation. I contacted Pinnacle's international HR department with a carefully worded request. I explained that my domestic partnership was ending and that the separation needed to remain confidential until my departure. They were consummate professionals. Within 48 hours, I had details for a furnished corporate apartment for my first 3 months, complete with all communication routed through my work email account. The apartment was in a prime location near the office, fully equipped with everything from kitchen appliances to high-speed internet. More importantly, it was mine alone, no shared spaces, no compromise on furniture arrangements, no one to question my choice of coffee maker or complain about my engineering journals scattered on the coffee table. Phase 2, Structural Disconnection. Since the house was solely in my name, a lesson learned from my divorce, I had complete control over its future. I contacted a reputable real estate agent and quietly listed it for sale with a closing date of exactly 1 week after my departure. The market was strong in our neighborhood. We had a solid offer within 2 weeks at 15% above asking price. The buyers were cash purchasers, which expedited the closing timeline perfectly. The mathematics were satisfying. I'd purchased the house for $285,000 3 years ago and was selling for $340,000. After agent fees, closing costs, and paying off the remaining mortgage of $238,000, I'd walk away with roughly $85,000 in cash, enough to establish a solid financial foundation in Europe while maintaining my investment portfolio stateside. I then arranged for a moving company recommended by Pinnacle's relocation service with very specific instructions. All of my personal belongings, clothes, books, my architectural models, workshop tools, were to be professionally packed for international shipping. The models required special handling, custom foam inserts I designed myself, climate-controlled shipping, and insurance covering their full replacement value of approximately $12,000. All of Sophia's belongings were to be carefully moved to a climate-controlled storage unit I rented in her name, with the first 2 months paid in advance at $200 monthly. I provided detailed inventory lists and photographic documentation of every item to ensure nothing was damaged or lost during the transition. To Sophia, I explained that relocation specialists were coming to do a comprehensive assessment for our international move. Her arrogance was my camouflage. She was so absorbed in planning her European networking strategy that she never bothered to examine the details of the assessment. During the packing day, she actually left to have lunch with her colleagues, completely trusting that the movers were simply evaluating our belongings for shipping quotes. She returned to find everything neatly categorized and documented, assuming it was all preparation for our joint departure. Phase 3, Digital Infrastructure. I filed comprehensive mail redirection forms with the Postal Service, routing everything to a forwarding service that would scan and email important documents while discarding junk mail. I opened a new phone account with international service that would activate the moment I left the country. I transferred my banking to accounts that would be accessible internationally, but invisible to her. The digital footprint required careful attention. I changed passwords on all shared accounts, removed her access to my streaming services, and set up new accounts for utilities at my European address. Every digital thread that connected us needed to be cleanly severed without triggering suspicion during the transition period. Phase 4, Emotional Firewall. The most therapeutic part was packing my models personally. Each one represented hours of patient work, precision engineering, problem-solving under pressure. As I wrapped the Golden Gate Bridge in custom foam inserts, I realized these models were metaphors for what I was doing now, building something complex, beautiful, and entirely under my own control. The Sydney Opera House required special attention. Its delicate shell structure had taken me 8 months to perfect, with each curved section hand-carved from balsa wood and fitted with mathematical precision. As I secured it in its shipping container, I thought about the engineering principles involved: cantilever forces, load distribution, architectural harmony. The same principles I was applying to dismantling my relationship: careful planning, precise execution, and ensuring the final structure could stand independently. My workshop tools were packed with equal care. The precision measuring instruments, the specialized cutting tools, the magnifying equipment. Each piece represented my capability to create, to solve problems, to build something lasting. These tools had helped me develop the spatial reasoning skills that made me valuable at Pinnacle, and they'd continue serving me in Europe. One evening, while I was documenting my model collection for shipping insurance, Sophia wandered into my workshop. "Are you still playing with your little toys, Pierce? I need your input on color schemes for the new apartment." "Just making sure my engineering projects survive the move," I replied evenly, carefully wrapping a scale model of the Millau Bridge. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was preserving structures I'd built while preparing to demolish the one I'd been living in. She glanced dismissively at the foam padding and shipping materials. "Whatever, just don't take forever. We have real planning to do." After she left, I allowed myself a moment of quiet satisfaction. In 3 days, these little toys would be safely crossing the Atlantic, while she discovered that our real planning had been entirely fictional. The morning of my departure arrived like a precisely timed detonation. The movers had come and gone the day before. My belongings were in a shipping container at the port. Her belongings were safely stored in Unit 247 at Secure Store. The house was empty, cleaned, and ready for its new owners who would take possession the following week. Sophia was at a celebratory brunch with her professional network, a farewell gathering she'd organized to properly close this chapter before our European adventure. She'd invited 12 of her most important contacts, planning to leverage the event for future business opportunities. She'd be there until at least 4 p.m., giving networking presentations about her upcoming international experience. At 2 p.m., I performed my final walkthrough of the empty house. The hardwood floors gleamed in the afternoon sunlight. The crown molding I'd installed myself caught the light perfectly. This house had been my sanctuary, my proof that I could build something stable after my divorce. Now it would serve its final purpose, demonstrating that I could walk away from anything that no longer served me, no matter how much I'd invested in it. I took a photo of the storage unit key and access card, which I'd left with the facility manager under her name. I attached the picture to a text message along with the facility's address and her unit number. I wrote, "Your belongings are safe and waiting for you. Storage is paid through next month. The house has been sold to new owners who take possession next week. I've taken the European position alone. This relationship is over. Do not attempt to contact me." I sent the message at exactly 3:47 p.m., then dropped my old phone into an electronic recycling bin at the airport. At 6:15 p.m., I was sitting in business class, watching the ground fall away through the aircraft window. I didn't feel anger or sadness. I felt the quiet, powerful sensation of a perfectly executed engineering project reaching successful completion. 3 weeks later, my new city exceeded every expectation. The corporate apartment was modern, efficient, and blissfully quiet. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked a river where I could see the construction site for our bridge project. My models were perfectly preserved during shipping, not a single component damaged. I'd already identified the perfect location for my workshop in the apartment's second bedroom. The job was everything I'd hoped for and more. The European team treated my spatial reasoning skills with respect, frequently consulting me on complex three-dimensional challenges. My experience with precision model building proved invaluable when we needed to visualize stress distribution patterns across irregular surfaces. For the first time in years, my engineering capabilities were being utilized to their full potential. I didn't have to wonder long about Sophia's reaction. After 48 hours of my phone being disconnected, my secondary email account, one I'd kept from my previous job, became a digital war zone. The flood of messages painted a clear picture of carefully constructed world collapsing in real time. Her first email arrived at 7:23 p.m. on the day I left. "Pierce, your phone is going straight to voicemail, and this text about storage makes no sense. Where are you? There are strangers at our house claiming they own it. Call me immediately. This is insane behavior, and I demand an explanation." The messages that followed cycled through threats, pleas, and accusations with mathematical precision. She demanded I explain myself immediately, called me selfish and cruel, insisted I was having some kind of breakdown. By the third day, the tone had shifted to desperate bargaining. "I know you're upset about something. We can work this out. I've always supported your career. Come home and we'll figure out Europe together. You're making a huge mistake." Then came the proxy attacks. Rachel, her closest friend, sent a message that revealed exactly how Sophia had framed the situation. "Pierce, I can't believe you abandoned Sophia like this. She's devastated and homeless because of your selfish tantrum. She gave up everything for your relationship, and this is how you repay her? You're a cruel, heartless man." The irony was perfect. Sophia had given up exactly nothing. She'd kept her job, her friends, her family relationships. What she'd lost was access to my income, my house, and her primary management project.